Hi everyone, welcome to the Quipster Film Review Podcast. My name is Vince Leo. I'm the author of the film review website Quipster.net. I invite you to check out over 4,000 of my written reviews at my newly revamped website. Quipster.net is where to go, QWIPSTER.net. Today I'm going to be keeping this pretty short but sweet because this is a film that I don't think merits in-depth analysis. It's a film called Skyscraper, and it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's PG-13 rated because of sequences of gun violence and action and some brief, strong language, and the runtime is an hour and 42 minutes. In addition to Dwayne Johnson, Neve Campbell, Pablo Schreiber, Chin Han, and Richard Moeller are also in this film, and the director and screenwriter is Rawson Marshall Thurber. Now, Die Hard in a Building is how some people are coyly referring to this film. My choice of title would have been Rock Hard because it's a lot like Die Hard and it stars The Rock. And we have this tough hero in this titular building having to take down terrorists from succeeding in their avaricious plans. Very much like Die Hard in that way, but most comparisons to Die Hard are going to end with just the concept because this is a vehicle for Dwayne Johnson, but it lacks the taut pacing, the suspenseful developments, the witty dialogue that makes the 30-year-old inspiration a truly great action film. The skyscraper of Skyscraper is known as the Pearl. It's about 2/3 of a mile in height, and that makes it the tallest building in the world. It's located in the heart of Hong Kong. And like the biblical tale of the Tower of Babel, where man tried to reach for the heavens through this giant structure, of course, things are going to be brought back down to earth. Dwayne Johnson here is playing this ex-military, ex-FBI agent named Will Sawyer. He retired from the service a decade ago after getting severely injured in the line of duty. He lost one of his legs and now wears a prosthetic. And in the 10 years since that fateful day, he's transformed his skills into this new career as a security consultant. Perhaps even more meaningful than his career, he's gotten married. He's become a father of two. Or a father of two future hostages, if you know where these kinds of stories go. He's the top choice for taking over this open position, working security for the Pearl, which is on the verge of opening to the public. So he travels there with his family in tow to Hong Kong to check out this potential new assignment as the building's first tenants. Of course, things are going to go awry. A group of bad guys hatch a plan to set up Will as the culprit in this effort to steal a boatload of cash from the building's multi-billionaire owner, and in the process to try to burn the new construction to the ground. It's up to Will alone to restore his reputation, to protect his family from being inevitably held at gunpoint, and to save the burning building from imminent destruction. I guess you can pretty much see where everything is going to go from just the plot line. Skyscraper is directed and written by Rawson Marshall Thurber. That name sounds familiar to you. It's because he's somebody who cut his teeth in comedy films before. He made one just recently starring The Rock. That was called Central Intelligence. If you're a fan of Thurber's previous work, you're going to expect to see some funny moments. He did Dodgeball, he did We're the Millers, pretty funny films. But you're going to be woefully disappointed if you expect that here, because this film pretty much stays very serious through the execution. Even those requisite one-liners that you're going to be expecting from a ripoff of Die Hard, those are almost completely absent from the proceedings in Skyscraper. Instead, it plays mostly like a generic thriller from the 1990s that somehow got Dwayne Johnson spliced into it. And as far as the film goes, it mostly rides on two main assets. One is the charisma of its star, of course, Dwayne Johnson, and also the emphasis on destruction porn type effects. It's kind of like a disaster movie in a way. The rest is completely predictable for any viewers who've seen 2 or 3 movies just like this. There are dozens, maybe even hundreds of films in the last 3 decades that have this same exact formula. Or maybe even older. If you start with 1974's The Towering Inferno, you're going to find a lot of comparisons to draw here. The plot involves pretty old cliches. You have this MacGuffin, a USB flash drive, very trite type stuff here. Scandinavian bad guys, they seem like they're on loan from about the last 20 thrillers that have been released out into the theaters. This is a film that's being released in 2D and 3D, but I do think that if you're going to see this, if you really have to see this, it's probably better to see it in 3D because a lot of visual effects here. Every scene feels like it's meant to give viewers the ultimate vertigo-inducing experience of a lot of great heights. Scenes of Will dangling for his life on the edge of a precipice are abundant. In fact, they're pretty redundant. On occasion, I thought I was seeing the same exact scene just replayed. And there are scenes where a character has to jump from one teetering object to another with flames shooting around or below or in the background. It's like you're viewing a full motion version of a Viewmaster reel. And along these lines, maybe viewers who are just looking for some quality eye candy to immerse themselves within might consider it money well spent in 3D, but watching this without the gimmick of 3D is probably going to reveal the film to be a pretty slick but generic thriller that's only going to be remembered as just another movie starring The Rock. Now, Skyscraper might be about the world's largest erection, and by erection, of course, I mean building, but the results are disappointingly flaccid, unfortunately. So I can only give Skyscraper 2 stars out of 4. 2 stars on my scale means that I do think that it's lacking something truly vital that would keep me from recommending this film to most people, and that thing that it's really missing is some sort of originality, maybe even a quality script here. Thurber certainly has made a lot of really funny films with a lot of personality. It's not really evident here, and outside of what The Rock and a nice little turn from Neve Campbell, somebody you haven't really seen in films that much, there's really not a lot here to recommend from an entertainment standpoint. So unless you're a hardcore fan of The Rock, I don't know that I could really recommend paying your hard-earned dollars to go see Skyscraper. It's kind of a boring movie if you've seen your share of these kinds of movies. I have way more entertainment watching Die Hard for the 30th time than in seeing the first viewing of Skyscraper, so that's probably what I would recommend people do. Just dig that out and you'll have a much better time. And speaking of films of the 1980s like Die Hard, I do want to recommend checking out my other podcast. It's called Around the World in 80s Movies. You can listen to it wherever you're listening to this. Just do a search for it, Around the World in 80s Movies, and you'll find it. Until next time, thanks everyone for listening, and enjoy your time anytime you get to go to the movies.